you've painted a lot of members of royal family.
Yeah, and children and grandchildren, yeah.
And how did you get to that level? Because as far as the artist goes, this is a dream.
I had two choices, either not to speak and just paint. So we talked all the time, and she was in incredibly good form and beautiful hands. And I said, Mom, they paint your hands so badly often. I got a telephone call from the Duke of Kent that the Queen likes the portrait so much and she would like to have it in the castle. And then I should write a letter and frame it and deliver, which I did.
Hello, it's Natalia and welcome to Beehive Podcast, the place where insightful conversations with the most extraordinary people take place. Each episode is an opportunity to explore my guests' personal journeys, lifestyle choices, and aspects of their personal success formula. Join me by subscribing now and enjoy the listen. Hello and welcome to Beehive Podcast. Today is another episode and another remarkable guest. I am in the house of wonderful Barbara Kaczmarowska Hamilton, also known as Basia Hamilton, who is internationally famous thanks to her great skill for the art of portraiture. And I'm going to read out the list of all the amazing names whose portraits Basia painted. His Holiness Pope John Paul II, Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II, Her Royal Highness Princess Royal, His Royal Highness the Duke of Kent, His Royal Highness Prince Michael of Kent, Lech Walesa, Margot Hemingway, Bas Aldrin. I can go on and on and on, and many, many others who all together constitute the Hall of Fame in your gallery, Basia. This is absolutely incredible, and thank you for welcoming me in your home again.
Oh, it's lovely to have you, just a great pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Natalia.
And I'm saying again because a few weeks ago I was here with my daughters, and it was something that it was such a privilege because my daughters are only 6 and 8, and to receive the abstract art workshop from somebody who is world class, I just wanted them to appreciate and to understand that privilege. And I was saying to the girls, I was like, you have to understand how special it is in your life. So thank you for giving them that wonderful gift, because it's absolutely priceless. And they absolutely enjoyed it, and their beautiful paintings already on the walls in their little Hall of Fame.
You framed them?
We framed them all.
Good.
We framed them.
Send
They
me
all
the
in
photograph.
Absolutely,
That's
absolutely.
nice.
It's so special.
Well, it's just so easy because you see, nowadays, the art, it's not really art. It's just combination of, I don't know, whoever has an idea, whatever they paint, they frame, and you don't have to go to a gallery. You can frame your own paintings, and that's why I show the children, and I give them 15 minutes to paint, as you saw, an abstract, and they take pastels, and I show them pastels, which are so easy, and they make a mess, make lines, rounds, and then smudge, and at every point there is a painting which could be finished and framed, could be hanging in the gallery as well. So that's why I'm showing it, that it's this modern art is really a big question.
Right.
It's not what was in the past when people had to have some kind of knowledge.
Right.
See, in the world of music, you have to have some kind of knowledge in any other profession, but to be an artist, anybody can be nowadays. So you don't have to have any knowledge, any studies. You just can pick up colors, do whatever you want, frame it, and that's it. De gustibus non disputandum est, and nobody can say, people can say I don't like it, but other person can say I like it. So it's unquestionable. That's what it is.
It's all relative.
So I love showing the children how can they do pictures.
You make it sound so simple, and it does take a great talent to be someone like yourself.
No, it doesn't. It's just
so humble.
The easiest thing in the world. So we studied in Poland 6 years abstract, basically abstract, because we're not allowed to do portraits.
Mm-hmm.
So abstracts for us is like everyday bread. Anybody who came out of the academy can paint an abstract in no time. It can be more elaborated, less elaborated, but it's just painfully easy. We can do a lesson online one day, so everybody can
exactly.
paint.
Oh wow! So is this how your artistic journey started in Poland?
Started at the age of your daughters. I was maybe 5, 6. I was very quiet. I never said a word to anybody. And my parents gave me colors and paper, and I painted the whole time.
Wow.
So that was my beginning. And then when I grew up, my father being a lawyer wanted me to study law, as all fathers or lawyers want their children to study law.
Of course, yes.
But at the time in Gdansk, we didn't have a university. We had medicine, polytechnics, Academy of Art, and School of Economics, but no law. Mm-hmm. And the next place next town where was the law was Toruń, which was like a quite away. And I was 17. They didn't want to send me away. So they remember I've always liked painting, so they sent me to some lessons to a Professor Mizerski, and for me it was easy. I picked up oil and just painted whatever I saw, which was quite easy. Mm-hmm. So this professor called my parents and put his hands like that. He's Mr. Kaczmarowski, this girl is a pearl. So, and then I passed exam easily, but it had nothing to do with art, nothing to do with art history. And the funny thing is, at the exam, they asked me which museums did I see. So I said Louvre, Vatican Museum, Barberini Museum, and one of this professor in jury said, "Did you see National Museum in Gdansk?" And I said, "No, I didn't." And so they started to, the heads move right and left, and I think they tried to fail me, but I think my work was so good that they actually let me in to the academy.
How
my drawings were so good.
So what you are saying, there's nothing to do with art history or anything. What is it to do? So it is a talent in that case. I mean, they wanted to fail you, they couldn't.
No, because maybe my drawings were, and paintings. My paintings were good. They were quite impressionistic because I couldn't see very well because I'm short-sighted. So I was painting.
How interesting.
In a way, impressionistic. So probably they liked that. They didn't realize that I couldn't see very well.
There you go. How to turn disadvantage into a major advantage.
Yeah, it was advantage, I think, at the time.
Yes.
Well, there we are. But anyway, I painted this abstract for 6 years because we are not allowed to do portraits, you see. So
you're not allowed to do portraits?
No, we used to paint still lifes made out of junk, like broken bicycles, some bits and pieces of whatever. The whole still life was already abstract, so that's what we were. Maybe it was good idea. Depends how you judge it. It was quite good idea because you don't sort of do precisely sort of apples and pears, and bananas.
And you learn to appreciate that there's no. Probably it's hard to make a mistake, isn't it, when you paint abstract painting? Like you said, anything can be turned. You can't make a mistake. Whereas within a portrait, there's a completely different level of responsibility, isn't it? So when did your journey take you next? Because I know you moved to Italy, which is a capital of art and design and fashion. Well,
that's quite easy. In Italy, I had an exhibition in Rome with my big abstracts because I had a good degree and lots of prizes for my big abstracts, which were actually, I thought, quite nice. But at this exhibition, I showed one self-portrait with abstract background, and everybody came to this portrait and said, "If you can paint this, why do you do those?" So I couldn't understand why they didn't appreciate my abstracts.
Yes.
And I started to have commissions, and I had to but as Polish people out of Poland, we had to earn the money. So I then started to paint portraits, and that was the beginning.
Yeah.
And they came very easily to me because I was sort of used to paint anyway. So it was just easy, and from one thing to another. And I never had an agent, and I never worked with the gallery. It was all word of mouth. Actually, to think about it now, I didn't have any advertisement in the paper or any there was no internet at the time. So it was from one thing to another. It was quite funny. And I was never employed in any gallery, or I just floated through the years from one portrait to another.
I wish it was that easy. You know, the entrepreneurial world of a creative, it's it's a battle after battle. Maybe it's the times changed, but I think it's a lot to do as well with your talent, and actually, you know, somehow you just fell into the right place.
I call it monkey ability.
Monkey ability. What does that mean?
I had this ability. I just very quickly paint portraits. I quickly get familiar. Now, when I had a little break, I didn't paint for a few months, as you know.
Yes.
So now when I started to paint, I was doing a son of my friend who actually died in a hospital. So,
right.
And I started to paint him, and immediately from the photograph, actually, this one, and immediately I could see his likeness. So I was quite surprised that I quickly can get this likeness. It's maybe, I don't know if it's an experience, but it's a little bit like with the piano, which I learned being a child, and I can sit. I don't play for 30 years, practically ever, once a year.
It's muscle memory.
And I can still sit down and play, because it's something to do with nerves that comes into your fingers. And when I see the music, I think, what's that? I can't even read the music anymore, but I can sit and play. Now it's so funny. This story is quite, because you see with writing as well. A lot of writers have never been at university. I think Kipling has never studied literature or writing, or so when you read people's lives, not everybody was educated in the way they created they did their work of their life. So it's quite funny. So that's why I'm encouraging everybody to paint.
You're encouraging everybody to paint. This is and the fact that my daughters have been taught by someone like yourself, one of their first workshops in art. Oh, this is music to my ears. This was such a pleasure and such a privilege.
It's not taught. I'm not teaching them. I'm just telling you, do this, and they can figure it out themselves. Because you can't really teach painting. You can't teach writing. It's something which you have to figure out yourself. You can watch your neighbor, what they do, and you can pick up ideas, and you can put together, and then you add your ideas.
Interesting, yes.
It's just so easy. You
can't teach. You need to have an eye for it, and then you need to bring your...
No, you need to have a wish to do it.
Wish to do it.
Wish to do it. If you want to, you can do anything you want if you want to do it.
You also were somehow involved in fashion and fashion drawings. Tell us about that story. How did that work?
I was never involved in fashion. When I was living in Sardinia, which was in the 70s, was a very elegant world, and people used to come for 2 weeks, and it was Aga Khan. There were very elegant parties. Leslie Caron lived next door to me and my friend. But I was just fresh from Poland, so I didn't have anything nice to wear. So I painted first a white sheet from bed, and then I started to paint my own dresses, which basically I used to wear all my life in America, in Palm Beach, everywhere. So they are basically, it's nothing to do with fashion. I paint an abstract painting. In the middle, I make a hole for a head, and I put it down like this dress.
Yes.
And it's nothing to do with fashion, because it doesn't have any cut. It's just a loose piece of fabric painting. You can either frame it or wear it. So that's my...
So the dress that you're wearing now is actually one of your paintings.
Yeah, it's called La Dolce Vita dress. So this is one dress which I printed several times, and it can be worn because it's a painting. So this is not in the back. In the back is different. So you can wear back to front. You always look like if you have different dress, and it's so easy, you know. And I just think I'm actually not quite sure why painters don't paint their own dresses, women painters. It's just so easy again. But I didn't actually go into fashion, because my father, who was always quite an influence in my life, he said, well, if you can paint portraits, why would you do dresses?
The practical mind at the time.
He didn't think, portrait is something much more special than dress. But this is a painting. It's like it's an abstract painting.
Absolutely, yes. Do you remember when you painted this piece of art for this dress? What was inspiring you? Do you remember when you've done this?
Well, I also spent a lot of time, many winters, in Palm Beach. So it was very hot. So they were ideal, those dresses. You can't wear something really next to your skin. So it's for Sardinia and Italy and Palm Beach and Jamaica was another place where I used to wear them. In Jamaica, because we spent winters in Jamaica as well. So
yes,
they're ideal for hot climates and holidays and cruise.
And it's gorgeous.
You just put it from the top.
From the top, and off you go. And you can dress it up, you can dress it down, you can wear it for so many different occasions. You can take it to the beach, and you can take it to a party.
To a very smart party,
yes,
because then you look always the best, because other Chanel, everybody knows Chanel, Dior, it's déjà vu.
This is bespoke.
And this is something unique, different.
Yeah, exactly. And please tell the listeners, I've borrowed this beautiful scarf as well. There's another talented member of your family who's created this.
Well, that's my architect son Maxi, who used to paint beautiful architecture, and he was in Venice. And some kind of tour, and he painted this here. And it's very beautiful, but now he sort of grew up and he's working as an architect, and he doesn't paint anymore. But there was a period when he painted beautiful Venice, beautiful architecture, and so we printed his print. I think it's rather lovely to wear. This is Cadoro, the most beautiful building in Venice.
That's right.
So it's lovely to wear something different. No?
What brought you to the UK and from Italy?
I lived in Italy and painted, and had my studio in South Kensington for years.
Oh, right.
And then one day I went to the country, and a friend collected me, Catherine Horn, my great old friend, and I met Ian. And I was 38 and he was 48, so it was like, I don't know, it was just
match made in heaven.
I don't know. It was quite extraordinary because we are completely different. He likes golf and cricket. I never understood what cricket is. Then when he said, the boys, then we had 2 boys, and he said, we have to choose a boarding school. I said, boarding school? So I was quite surprised that the children had to be sent away, but this was completely unquestionable that they go to boarding school. It's just here in the country people were saying, which boarding school? So
I see.
You see, because I was young when I was painting portraits, I was living with this Polish man in Sardinia.
Yeah.
And we were in Switzerland in a Hotel Dolder, because I painted Polish men who gave arrases, like big tapacies, to Polish castle in Krakow. And this man said, do you know Arthur Rubinstein is in a hotel? I said, oh really? I said, what room? Went straight away to his room. I knocked at the door and I said, my name is Barbara Kaczmarowska. I'd love to paint Arthur Rubinstein's portrait. That's what I said, more or less like that. And this lovely woman, big hair, and charming, young, and she said, well, it's not very, but look at him. It was quite before he died. He was on the sofa and he was covered with plates. She said, you know, I have to inject him. He is quite ill. So it didn't work. But she is called Annabel Weidenfeld. She then married George Weidenfeld. And we were in touch. She came for lunch. She's absolutely lovely. She had very big hair. She had a cancer, but enormous hair.
Yeah.
And that's how it is. And when you are young and pretty, or particularly, and I wasn't that pretty, but I think I was just, or Alberto Moravia, you know, the writer, Alberto Moravia?
Yeah.
You know, I was at the party, was Antonioni at the party, and him, so I went straight to him. I said, mi scusi, io vorrei fare il suo ritratto. I speak Italian perfect, no? So he said, oh, va bene. So he invited me to his house, and I was painting him, and and he was constantly asking me questions, because I was from communist country, which was not very easy to be in Italy.
Yes.
So he was continuously. So I said, in the end, I said, ma mi scusi, io non posso disegnare se lei parla. And he said, well, senti, lei è pittrice, lei a suo piacere, io sono scrittore. Io ho bisogno del mio piacere. You're the painter. You have your pleasure, and I am a writer. I need to have my pleasure. It's quite funny.
I like that.
But because it was funny, because if you are young, you can. Nobody says no to you if you want to paint their portraits. If you want to do interview, nobody would say no to you. You know, people are the most important in the world, not wealth, not houses, but people.
Exactly.
You know, we had a very nice friend of mine who built Jan Żeleński, like Polish prince, was here. he had built a most amazing house called White House in Ealing. You can Google it. I used to organize in Polish club friends in town lunches. So I would call people and say, whoever is in town, come for lunch. I learned this from Palm Beach, because in Palm Beach, everybody has house guests. So if you invite somebody, said, well, how many you are? No, how many you're in a house?
I like that.
Yeah, that's what it was. In Sardinia as well, if you invite people for dinner, how many? Because if you have house guests, they come.
They come.
and in Palm Beach, this friend of mine, Dee Cushing, which is this her husband did all those 5 books with all the paintings, you know.
Yeah.
And
Thomas Cushing, yeah.
Thomas Cushing, and she started those lunches. So I did. I transfer. That's like you learn something from everybody. So I transferred this to Poland, to Polish club.
Yes.
And we did Friends in Town. And this Jan Żyliński was always asking me, when are you going to do another Friends in Town lunch? When are you going to do another Friends in Town lunch? And when he got ill, he called me from the hospital and he said, this house is amazing. He did big parties, big charities and everything. But when he called me from hospital, he said, Basia, I'm happy here in the hospital because I'm not alone. You know, I have my nurses, I've got people next door. You see, people are most important in life, you know.
Exactly. It doesn't matter your level of importance or where you are at life socially or financially. Yeah. That's the value of it.
And no, the people, my God. That's why, you see, where I always was surrounded by older people, you see.
And that's such a good wisdom and learning.
I learned because the man I was living in Sardinia was older, and and I sort of learned a lot, and from other women older. A friend of mine who is nearly 100, Polish actress Irena Delmar, she told me she only uses coconut oil because she said that's no chemicals. So I also have a jar. So yesterday I put my oil. You know, you learn from. She's nearly 100. She does 15 minutes exercises every day.
Every day, yeah.
So it's great. She's an actress, lovely person. You could interview her because she's nearly 100.
Wow, yeah.
She's not internationally known in the Polish community. Also, whatever she says makes sense, you see.
Yeah. Everything genius is simple, and I think modern world there's a lot of things that are overcomplicated for no particular reason.
I know.
Same as you know, skincare routine, because beauty industry makes a lot of money on it. So simple ingredients are now being mixed up with all the chemicals.
Absolutely.
And making zero
impact. I know the owner of a company called Ziaja, and so I met them, and when they were just beginning. So he said they started mixing cream on the kitchen table.
There you
now
go.
They're a very big company, and he said, listen, every cream is made of lanolin, and they just changed the name and put some other drops or something, and they just a big box and big.
How interesting.
Jar. This is quite amazing.
It's so going back to basics.
Coconut oil.
Exactly. Yes, coconut oil has been my go-to for a while as for the body. Now I'm going to be putting it on my face. You've painted a lot of members of royal family. Yeah,
and children and grandchildren. Yeah.
And how did you get to that level? Because as far as the artist goes, this is a dream, right? To create a portrait, to the piece of work of the real life sitter who is the ruler of the country we live in. This is the top privilege. This is also a dream. How did you get to live that dream?
How did I do that?
Yeah.
Because I think a lady Hassie organized it. She put me in touch with Helen Cross, who was a diary keeper of the Queen, and then we were going to do it before Christmas, and then we went away. And in the spring, she emailed me, I've got a date for you to come to Windsor Castle to see the room where we'll be painting, and she asked me to choose a dress, and I said pink. So she came with a lovely pink dress, and I also have chosen the jewel, and I've chosen the jewel similar to Queen Mother's jewel. And then the next week we had a meeting with the Queen, and Alistair Bruce was there, who is a ruler he's a chairman of the castle in Scotland, Royal Castle in Scotland. and the equerry and Helen Cross, and we had a lovely meeting with the Queen, and Ian then left the room, and I was painting, and I had two choices: either not to speak and just paint.
Yes.
And I thought, well, it's such a lovely, I can paint.
Opportunity as well, isn't
I know,
it?
so we talked all the time, and she was in incredibly good form and beautiful hands, and I said, Mom, they paint your hands so badly often. And the Queen called Helen Cross, her assistant, and I brought a book from Royal Portrait Society, who just had an exhibition at the time, and she said, look at this picture of me in a yellow dress, because the hands were made so thick and so hard, and she had a little delicate hand, so I don't know why somebody painted it. So, and she really never criticizes work of art. Like, she never said the Lucian Freud portrait she didn't like, but it was kind of really portrait which was not it's a kind of I don't know, I can't criticize as an artist, but yeah. I try to portray people in a kind way. That wasn't very kind.
Yeah.
And then we talk. Do you want to hear? Absolutely. Yes. Because the Queen, the Queen remembered the grandmother of Pokleski, who were living. The family of Kozioł Pokleski, Polish family, was given a cottage in the house of old Duke and Duchess of Kent, Princess Marina, and the Duke of Kent, who was killed in Scotland. So this Polish family lived in that cottage, and the children grew up together. Vincent, who became the best friend of the Duke of Kent, and the Prince Michael and the Duke of Kent, they love Polish food from that time.
Interesting. Yes.
And when Prince Michael came to be painted by me sort of years ago, he sat on the chair, and he said his first words were, "My favorite food is Polish." And the Duke of Kent likes to go to Dakis, the Polish restaurant, and to have soup called żurek, which anybody else would just throw it away because it's just such a strange soup. But he likes it, obviously, because at the time they must have eaten that soup. Yes. But also Ian, my husband, who you know, he doesn't like goat cheese, and the Duke doesn't like goat cheese, and they absolutely hate goat cheese. So I said to the Queen, and funny enough that Ian and the Duke they hate goat cheese. Yes. But Ian told me that his family during the war kept the goat. So I was thinking, and I thought, I'm sure they don't like goat cheese because they were fed goat cheese after the war. No? Yeah. Yeah. But the Queen said, do you know, I wasn't fed goat cheese after the war, but I don't like it either. How interesting. And after the sitting, the Queen went to the other room where Ian was sitting with Alistair Bruce and Equerry, and she went straight to Ian. She said, I hear you don't like goat cheese just like me. She was a remarkable woman. No, she was absolutely amazing. I don't know how that happened that 4 years, because I painted her on the 6th of May. Yeah. And the year later, it was coronation of the king, which is quite a complete coincidence. That is, yeah. The same day, don't you think? Yeah. Quite extraordinary. So the Queen died in September, and she was in absolutely perfect form, you know. So I don't know what happened so fast, but that she was 96. So 96, she lived a long life. Yeah. At least she hasn't been ill, which is quite good. Exactly. Anyway, it was quite amazing. That I was having this chance. Exactly. How long did it take to paint the Queen? I was given 1 hour, so all that did happen in 1 hour. Oh, but I took lots of photographs, and then I came home, locked myself in the studio here in the country, and with all these emotions. And I also wanted to paint her, you know, in not a regal sort of situation, but just nice as she was. She was incredibly nice and just normal. And warm, isn't it? There's a lot of warmth in this portrait. Yeah. Anyway, everybody seemed to like this portrait.
I wonder why. And I told you that yesterday I was at this conference. I walked into Leonardo Royal Hotel by St. Paul's, and whilst everybody was busy networking and getting ready for keynote speakers, right there,
you saw it
in the lobby, there's a portrait of Her Majesty the Queen Elizabeth II, and then there was a little, next to her there was a little board with all the fun facts and explaining how, when, and they did mention that you painted the Queen in Windsor Palace and Windsor Castle, and that it was on the day, exactly the year, 6th of May, exactly the year.
2 years
before
ago.
2 years, yes. Well, a year before the King's coronation, that it was on the day. So that was as one of the facts that was mentioned on the board as well.
The picture was basically for celebration of her 60 years of reign, and we were supposed to have an unveiling in the Polish Museum, Sikorski Museum in the Princess Gate, where her mother, Queen Mother's portrait is hanging, and we had a big unveiling there. But in the meantime, I got a telephone call from the Duke of Kent that the Queen likes the portrait so much and she would like to have it in the castle. And then I should write a letter and frame it and deliver, which I did. My friend, I had a beautiful frame, which my framer put it in, and then I took a taxi and drove to Buckingham Palace. And then it went to Windsor, which is maybe one day we can go and see it over there.
Yes,
but
please,
my friend
definitely.
Bobby Jenkins, who printed several prints and put it in for the celebration in the best hotel.
This is beautiful. And so see, when you paint a portrait, you have to convey the personality, and it's how do you do this? Because it's not just the similarities, it's also to reflect the personality or how you see them. How do you do that?
Well, I always try to get something the best out of a person, something which is the nicest thing.
Yes.
Because we all can look angry if you go past the mirror, then if you don't smile, then you don't look as nice as when you smile. So I always think the portrait in a smile also is not so good, because nobody can sit with a smile for so long.
Right.
Or there are no portraits laughing, really, apart from Franz Hals, who painted them very quickly. There was an exhibition in National Art Gallery of Franz Hals not long ago. So some paintings, some of his portraits are with teeth, but he was very fast. He sometimes painted for lunch or when he needed or something. So, but the Queen, I wanted to have her to look with a tiny little smile. So I think I always try to see something best in a person, and I see lots of portraits which look so frighteningly.
Just exactly when you try to it's a lot of pressure for the sitters as well, isn't it? To just look your best.
Yeah, exactly. And I ask them to sit straight always, which is so important.
Yes. Do you have any routines that you follow before you start painting people?
Oh yes. I always dress up with a shirt, usually a white shirt with a frill, very old-fashioned,
right,
and a long skirt, which is kind of like an envelope. Then I never wear jeans when I paint.
Is it the same outfit, or you just change as long as it's a white shirt?
No, it's always a long skirt.
Long skirt.
I don't know why.
You don't know why?
I
so
think
is it like for good luck?
Look like a painter 19th century. It's not just somebody who comes from a party or jeans or sort of. No, I always dress up the same way.
You have to be dressed up the same way. And is there anything?
Even at home here, even if I'm by myself, you put this skirt is hanging on my easel always. It's very dirty. I clean because pastels you use your fingers. So
yeah. You have to be.
Do you know, nobody asked me what I wear painting, but you.
See, but this is interesting now, because we don't see what's behind the portrait.
I was also wearing that skirt going to paint.
Did you?
Of course.
Did you have to change in the palace? Obviously, you would change there.
No. I was already wearing it.
You were already wearing it. How
It's
interesting is that? This is the best fact. So, symbolism. How important is symbolism in your portraits? And are there any hidden symbols that you would have in each of your portraits?
I basically concentrate on expression and face, not so much on dresses or jewelry. I sometimes do them, but it's a different thing. I'm most interested in expression, to get the right expression, because you can do everything very well, the dresses and jewelry. If expression is wrong, people will put it in the attic.
Interesting. Yes, of course. Yeah.
I think
people need to like.
You have to like.
Face.
It's like your photograph. You delete what you don't like.
Absolutely. Yes.
You can't delete the portrait. So I have learned this through years of painting. You know that's very important. It has to be pleasant, also for the other people, for the family, for the next generation. You know?
Yeah. How interesting. And having had the sitters of such high ranks, do you feel that responsibility? Do you feel a bit of a pressure, or with time, you know your worth?
But the minute you start, you forget who you paint, really.
Really?
Because you get so interested to get it right.
Absolutely, yes.
the eyes are the same level that you can't really think who are you painting eventually, because it also I paint very quickly, so I have to concentrate to the maximum.
That's it. You in the zone.
I don't do it very slowly. It's just very quick.
Just very quick.
I used to paint one portrait in the morning, one in the afternoon, one at the tea time, one in the evening. when I was younger.
So to wrap up this interview, I have 5 quick blitz questions. What's your favorite quote?
My favorite quote is "De gustibus non disputandum est." This is again my father, who always spoke in Latin. The taste is not something you can discuss, not dispute, because if I like pink, you say, well, I don't like pink, but yes, you don't like, but I like. No, so you can't dispute taste. So I think this is very, very clever Latin. All Latin proverbs are very clever. This particular I like.
One superpower that you'd like to have?
Superpower? I would love to have superpower to make all the children paint and play the piano.
This is beautiful. Yes, I'm with you on that superpower. No one mentioned that before.
Yeah.
Tasks that you'd like to outsource.
What?
Something that you would like to outsource. You'd like somebody else to do that for you. I know you've got some help in the house, but are there any tasks that you don't like doing, you want someone else to do it for you?
Oh yeah, I don't like cooking and cleaning.
Cooking and cleaning, which you've got help here.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
I never did any cooking and cleaning because otherwise I couldn't paint.
Of course.
So I had to always have help with the children.
Yeah. How interesting. Your dream place to live?
I think it's England or Poland.
Interesting.
Yeah, no, I love this countryside. I think with years I appreciate more country.
Yes.
Before I was always going to be in London, but now lately I really love the country.
You love the country.
And the garden.
Top choice for a famous house guest, and it can be a current or historic figure. And I know you have here a lot of famous house guests, but who would be your favorite house guest?
Well, no, I have got lots of favorite house guests, but lately our village gained the ex-headmaster of Winchester College, which is the best school in England, and he's called Ralph Towson, and he's terribly nice, and he and he is not like country people because he's the cleverest person in the village, I think. Anyway, so I have lots of guests which I could mention, but he is my latest discovery. That's why I
discovery. You're still curious about him, so he will be your top.
He loves coming here because I always have writers, interesting guests, and he always likes coming here for lunches too, because then we create sort of a little intellectual
conversation.
An enclave.
I like it. Basia, thank you so much for coming on to my podcast.
Thank you, Dani.
For this
I think it was so sweet.
And for this insightful conversation. You absolute inspiration and such a motivation. And I like how you make arts seem and sound and look so simple.
Easy peasy.
Easy peasy. There you go. This is fantastic. And of course, thank you to our listeners for tuning in. And if you were watching on YouTube, please do subscribe and follow. And do connect with Basia on her socials as well. On Instagram, it's @BasiaHamilton. Or check out her website, www.basiahamilton.com. Thank you so much for having me here. And please stay curious and have a newfound, hopefully, appreciation for art.
Next time we paint together again.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining me on this episode of Beehive Podcast. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share. Bye now till the next episode. Look after yourselves and your loved ones.